Okay, so I'll come back to our class. I haven't started working on the drafts so far, so I'll start with them tomorrow, and they will be ready before Saturday or before Sunday. We'll see about that. Now we are done with this project, and as I said before, we are going to have 3 projects for this class. The first one is the one that you have already submitted, a map, a diagram of thought, whatever you want to call it. So that is number 1. The new project that we are going to work on is going to be a paper, an actual paper. We will talk about it in a minute. And then at the end of the semester, we are going to have an alternative audience and alternative medium, and we will say the same thing but in a different way to a different type of audience. We will talk about that when we come to it. What we have now is project 2, and we are going to continue with it from now until week 10, so this will be like approximately 5 or 6 weeks. Also, we will be talking about this new project, and this new project is going to be the main project for our class. So all of your hard work needs to be on this work, because after all, this is a writing class, not maths class or visuals class. So that's why we are spending a lot of time on this. We are going to write a paper, a new paper, and you need to choose the target audience, the right target audience. Target audience for this paper is going to be, in one way or another, me, but it's not just me, because you are going to write to academic audiences in general. And that means that you are not going to write your papers like a journalist. You are not a journalist. You are not going to try to solve the problems of the entire world in a short essay. Don't think like that, and don't act like that when you are writing your paper. You are an academic working in an academic institution, writing to people. Your target audience is people in academic institutions. If you just decide to choose a different audience, that will be definitely wrong. In the following project, in project 3, yes, you can choose whatever audience you want. You can act like a journalist, like a politician, like whatever you want to be. Okay, but for this assignment, no, you are in an academic institution writing for people in academic institutions. The length will be between 5 and 7 pages, or between 1200 and 1700 words. Okay, that will not be like really that much. You have already chosen the material, and you are going to choose MLA or APA style for your paper. Now, let me be clear. MLA, a lot of you know about MLA, right? You used it in high school, things like that. And that's hopefully where it ends. Unless you are an English major or history major or a few other fields in the humanities, no one else uses MLA. Again, it's your choice, but if you are not an English major or a history major, forget about it. Just find something else. Use APA or Chicago if you want, but Chicago is a little bit difficult for some people. So MLA and APA could be good. Now, when we talk about choosing MLA or APA, this is not just about the last page when you write your sources. No, MLA and APA, you need to keep them in mind with the first word that you write to the last word that you write on the document, whether it is electronic or a sheet of paper. Why? Let me give you an example. In MLA, do we have a title page? Do we have an independent title page for an MLA? No. For APA?
Yes.
The answer is yes. In MLA, do we have an abstract? Do we have an abstract in MLA papers?
No.
No. APA?
Yes.
Yes. Do we have keywords after the abstract in MLA or APA? Definitely no, because we don't have an abstract, and definitely yes. When you are writing names of authors, for instance, you are writing, and this is your paragraph, okay, and then you cite a person called Smith. What do we put after the word Smith if we are using MLA or APA?
The year.
The year. Where? In MLA or APA? In APA, yes. So date of publication of any source, yes. Here, no. Okay? When we have the section headings and subheadings, how do we write them in MLA? We use all caps or caps lock when we are talking about level 1 subheadings and headings and subheadings. We are different. In APA, no, they are just bold and they are centered. So even this is going to be different. When we are talking about the last page, when you put the sources, what do we call them in MLA? The page, what do we call it?
Bibliography.
No. And it's definitely not sources, and it's definitely not citations. What do we call them?
Is it references?
It's references in APA. So in APA, we are calling them references. And in MLA, what do we call them? It's called works citing page. Please don't use the word sources. It is wrong. Please don't use the word citations. That will give me a heart attack. Okay? And definitely don't use the word resources, because sources have nothing to do with resources. These are different things. So don't do it. So when you write your paper, you have to decide from the very beginning whether you are using MLA or APA. Okay? You decide from the very beginning, and again, it depends on what you are writing about. Your paper is about, and this is what field?
Like a conservationist. Green field.
Where do we study this here on campus?
Oh,
Is that like a specific department?
I don't know.
What citation style or what formatting style, let me call it, do people in that field use? Most probably it will be APA. Okay, so you use APA. Again, you have the choice, but it always depends on the people of your field. People in philosophy use a specific thing. People in communication use a specific thing. In political science, what do we use?
No idea.
You should know. It's not MLA nor APA. It's something that's very similar to Chicago, but it's not Chicago. We have something that we call Chicago Manual of Style. The American Political Science Association have something that's similar to Chicago, but it's not exactly 100% the same. That's what people in political science. But for now, you can use APA or MLA. Again, you have the total freedom to do whatever you want. But do the thing that's appropriate for your discipline, for your major. Now, why do we have to do this project? Why do we have to write like a 1200 or 1500 or 1700 page paper? Why do we have to waste our time? Well, first, you have to because you are a student and you don't have an option. You have to do it because you are asked to do it. I know we hate homework. And every time I talk about homework or reading or things like that, I remember a feedback I received, I think in 2018, from a student who was complaining in his feedback that I asked people to do readings and that I give them homework. I don't know who that is, but that person comes here or came here thinking that he would just sit and leave and get an A at the end of the semester. I don't know how. There are people who think that we shouldn't give them homework and things like that. There are some things. Anyway, so first you are going to understand that research is a key to discovering academic conversations. When we talk, we always assume that there is just one opinion about the topic we are doing research on. We assume that there is one voice, one idea, that this is right or wrong, or this is how to do that, this or that thing, and that's it. When you do research, you realize that no, that's not the case. That every problem has multiple causes. Okay? And that each cause has its own solution or solutions. Okay, so S1, S2, S3, and things like that. How can we fight climate change or deal with it? First, what is the cause of climate change? First, is climate change real? People say that, yes, it's real. And then you are living in Utah and you're like, just look outside, see the snow, there is no climate change. It's not even real. We know that it's real, of course, but there are people who still deny it. Or there are debates about the cause. Or there are debates about what to do. There are people still today who think that it's an urgent issue versus people who think that, no, it's not really an urgent issue. While there are people who say it's too late, there's nothing to be done. When you do the research, when you start checking your sources, when you start looking up the information, you will realize that there is so much complexity about the issue, there are so many debates about it, and that it could be handled in different ways. That's important to know. You discover this through doing research, discover what people are saying to each other. That's one of the purposes you are going to learn. What are the main arguments about Ukraine or how to solve the problem? You are also going to recognize different ways to position yourself in a conversation. This is one of the opportunities you have to say I in a paper. No one is going to say or ask you like, why are you using that pronoun? Yeah, you are allowed to use it. But just be careful. Don't use the words believe, because I don't care about what you believe in. I don't care also about what you think. But I want you to use signal verbs, for instance, argue, contend, aver, opine, maintain, and things like that, because that's what I care about here. But if you just say I think or I believe, yeah, I don't care about what you think and what you believe. So use the appropriate signal verbs, position yourself within the conversation, and take a position. What's your paper about? Raise your voice. Okay, and what aspect of that you are talking about? What led to the conflict? So is it the aggressive Russian policies and its interest in certain types of things in the region? Or it's Europe and the United States that have been using information warfare, different strategies in order to provoke Russia and make it attack Ukraine so that Russia loses money, for instance. At the very beginning, maybe you think what you hear in the media, Fox and CNN and these people, and then when you study the issue from a deeper perspective, you realize that there are like more complex opinions and more complex causes and probably more complex solutions to the problem. So this is something that you are going to discover when you join in the conversation and you will take a position. Maybe your friends, if you talk about your position after writing the paper, after having enough information, you write the paper and you have a position that people around you don't like, but it's based on facts, right? That will make you a different person. You will be smart enough, you will be educated enough to say your position. You are going to use supporting evidence to strengthen your argument. And I claim that it's not Russia's fault, it's Europe that has adopted an anti-Russian discourse and rhetoric, and that has been the cause that antagonized Russia in Ukraine and made Russia go into Ukraine. Because Vladimir Putin felt that Ukraine is becoming a serious problem that's undermining the Russian interests, that Ukraine is becoming a member of NATO probably, and that will represent a serious threat to Russia's national security. Do I have evidence to support that claim? Maybe. No, yes, there is that evidence to support that claim. And there is evidence that supports another claim, which is the opposite. So you need to pay attention to different arguments, but when you choose your opinion, you are going to choose it and support it with evidence that works for you. You are also going to evaluate the credibility of the sources that participated in that conversation. Okay, so some sources are just based on what we think is right. Remember, when we handle issues, we always write from an American perspective. For instance, if we are talking about our trade war with China, will we ever take it from a Chinese perspective? No, because even if you think that China is right, you cannot say that publicly, not in a paper, because if you do, you are a traitor. Okay? So people will try to avoid expressing that opinion because they are worried of public shaming, demonization. People will think that you are like an asset to the Chinese government just because you say that no, it's China that is right when it comes to this issue. Again, people write from a specific perspective, and it's their ideology, it's your positions, where you come from, that decides what you are going to write, which is a problem, because becoming objective these days, even in issues that are related to nature, animals, things that are related to a specific geopolitical space, we say, people are going to differ. Not only that, you hate exams. How many people love exams here? Love exams. Anyone? So if you write a research paper, would you ever say that exams are good? Probably not. Right? So that's going to be a problem. Or more homework. I think that we are not giving students enough homework, that you should read 10 times what you are reading now. Yes, exactly. That's a reaction. Because people say, wait. If you ask teachers, they will say, oh, we need to give students more homework. If you ask students, they'll say, oh, we are already reading too much. That's more than what we can handle. Because it's always your interests that decide what you think is right or wrong, correct or incorrect. The idea that we are above and we are really neutral and objective and we are going to say things in the best possible way because we are interested in truth, that's probably a joke. That's probably going to be a joke because nobody is going to do that. Even if they do it, they will be like a subject for a lot of attacks. If you just mention, like, publish an article and you express like a negative position. For instance, if you get your paper and you say, no, it's the United States' fault when it comes to the war in Ukraine, and we are responsible and we should pay the price. people will think that you are a traitor, that Russia is paying you to write this kind of research. This is not a joke. There was a time in the 60s,
During the Cold War. So during the Cold
during
War.
the Cold War, if you just say an opinion that is slightly positive towards the Soviet Union, you may lose your job. Professor Philip Wander, I think, he was trying to get tenure at his university. That was like in the 70s. He was denied tenure because he was writing about a topic that was not very common at his time. He was not promoting Russian ideas, but he was using a Russian way of thinking to analyze American foreign policy. He was not pro-Soviet Union. He did not like the Soviet Union. No, he called it the evil empire, like President Reagan. Not just that, but until today, there are things that you write about, and you could be fired. For instance, a Native American professor, I forgot his name, I should find it. He said that what happened on September 11 was just a fair punishment to the Americans because of their aggressive policies. He said that he would never call Bin Laden a terrorist, and he would never call the people who died on that day victims, because we are all responsible for what happened. He was almost fired from his university. These things happen. We talk about freedom of expression, but there are always limits to how much freedom you have if you are trying to express a specific opinion. And you are going also to practice writing processes that support your development as an effective writer. An effective writer means that you need to understand what your target audience is and how you are going to persuade that target audience about what you think. Look, a lot of times when we write, we think that what we write makes sense. And maybe it makes sense. But to you, as a writer, not to everybody, people are not going to see what you say in the same way all the time. Words have meaning, but they are perceived by people in different ways. Totally different ways. Because of their cultural background, because of who they are, their political affiliation, their gender identity, the way they see the world. So for instance, if I see someone and I say, "You look nice today," some people say, "Thank you." But you say the same thing to another person, the same day, the same tone, the same words, exactly, and they will immediately get angry, like, "Are you saying that I was ugly yesterday?" Maybe because they were in a bad mood, right? Or, "Wow, your hair is really good today." Are you saying that I was ugly yesterday? Or sexual harassment. Again, these things happen. Why? Because your writing and your decision to be an effective writer does not just depend on the words that you use. It also depends on the context. And it also depends on your audience. How are they going to perceive what you write, the way you say it? Every word, unfortunately, could be interpreted in more than two ways. Good morning could be like just a good morning. It could be just harassment. It could be an attack. It could be so many different things for so many different people. Now, when you start with your paper, we are going to follow a number of steps. And of course, each one of them is supposed to help you or lead you to move forward with your project. Now, the first thing you are going to do is to choose a topic that is interesting to you. And again, you are going to start either with a topic. So you say, I want to write about the war in Ukraine. I write about preservation of certain natural places. Yes, request.
So are we changing
whatever we wrote about from project one?
That's the third point.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
Okay. So you are going to choose a topic or a question that you try to answer. But as I said before, you are going to choose a topic that you can write about or try to answer a question that you can answer. You cannot write a paper about a topic that's not real, or try to answer something or a question about a place you don't even know. So talking about overpopulation on Mars. Do we even know if there are people there or not? We now assume that there are no people there. But climate change on Neptune, or I don't know, how, or maybe we say, are there people who are living in the sun but on the side of the sun, not outside it? Maybe, right? It's a stupid question. Why is it a stupid question? Not because it's really stupid or we have no right to ask it, no, but we don't have tools that help us answer these questions. I don't know how to go to the sun. I cannot be even close enough. And I don't know if the sun has an inside and it's empty and there are people who are living there. And if there are people who are living there, how do they look like? What kind of social problems do they have? How are their bodies constructed to resist the heat? We have no tools to answer these questions. So when you find a topic or a question, try to deal with something realistic, something you can work on. Another thing is that you need to do some brainstorming, and we'll do that like in the coming few days or next week maybe. You will brainstorm and you are going to think about what you are going to do and write a response in relation to that. Now, your question is whether we choose the same topic or a different one. You are free if you want to change your topic. So you wrote a paper about something you don't like, and now you're like, okay, I'm changing my topic. It's your choice. But do you really want to go back and start collecting sources again, and reading sources again, and evaluating sources again, while you have already found 10 sources? Do you really want to do that?
No.
No. So it's your choice, but even if it is your choice, it's strongly recommended that you stay with the same topic. Instead of like looking for different sources or new sources, you just continue because it's easier now to continue. If you hate your topic, fine. But again, that's the only chance that you have to change the topic. Now, for the sources, you are going to use 6 sources. At least 3 of them need to be academic sources, things that are published in academic journals that have like volume and issue number and things like that. At least, I say, at least 6. The more sources you use, the better. The more signal verbs you use for your topic when you are like presenting ideas, the better. Don't make claims in your paper that you cannot support by a source. Because in the middle of any paragraph, I will ask you, said who? Or says who that what you are saying is true? You say, oh, this is the source. So the more sources you use, the better. Don't be afraid at this level of using sources. No, the more you use, it's always the better. Okay? Because if you don't, that will be a problem, and you will be making a lot of claims that are baseless, and that will undermine your argument. Now, when you are reading these sources, which I assume you have already read, at least some of them, you are going to find the new ones. Okay, you are going to use the reading strategies that we talked about. You focus on the title, headings, and subheadings, and you read for comparison and contrast, and how scholars diverge and converge and things like that. That's something that you need to do. Also, when you are reading the sources and identifying the major arguments, number, authors have primary arguments and secondary arguments. For instance, if I want to write a paper about the conflict in Ukraine, or the trade war between the United States and China, or border issues between the United States and Mexico, or whether Canada needs to be like the 51, should we say 51 or 51st state? 51st state in the United States. That will be like my major topic. But maybe I will also refer to problems between other countries. For instance, India and Pakistan, or Pakistan and Bangladesh and India, or things that are related to other places, how countries were divided and then they came back together again. Again, that's a question. But that's not my major argument. My main argument is about the trade war or about the borders, but I will make references to other topics. You need to focus on the main ideas, not everything that's said in the paper. Secondary arguments, not really that important. You are also going to find some ideas and cite or directly quote in your own paper. Now, I assume that you learned about citing and paraphrasing and quoting in your 1010 class.
I do, yeah.
You did? Okay. Do you remember when to cite, when to summarize, and when to paraphrase, and when to directly quote? Does anyone remember?
You cite when you use,
You cite, no, not cite, sorry. You summarize, you paraphrase, and you quote. Which one do you use and when? When do we summarize an argument? That's your argument in your paper. But when you are using material from other sources, when you are citing other sources, when do you summarize? Okay. You summarize when you are just making a quick reference to something someone said. So you say, Smith said that 1, 2, 3, very quickly. And you don't even need to mention the page number if you are using APA style. Why? Because you say just this author mentioned this, and that's all. That's when you summarize. So this author talked about climate change. This author talked about the issue of snow in Park City, tourism, things like that. That's when you are just referring to a general idea used by an author. You paraphrase when there are certain details that are mentioned by the author that you are citing. And these details are important. And you need to include those details in your own paper. That's when you paraphrase. Okay. What about quoting? When should I quote? Or directly quote from a source? You use direct quotations when the details are needed. So this is similar to paraphrasing. But when the thing said is written in a very beautiful way, that if you change the words, the idea that you are talking about will be less effective or less interesting. Does that make sense? So imagine that an author is talking about the causes of climate change. And they provide us with very interesting details. Good. And this is written in a very beautiful way, very artistic language, very flowery style. That's exactly when you use direct quotation. Because if you change the words, they will lose their power. Make sense? So if something is well written, you directly quote. If something is just written in a normal way and you just need the information, that's when you paraphrase. Now, you are also going to work on an annotated bibliography. You have already done that. You are going to write the source, the what? Is that in video? Is it here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Years ago, someone was watching something, and they were like putting out, they were listening, and all of a sudden, by mistake, it was unplugged. and he was watching something that he was not supposed to be watching in class. I can't forget the sound. Anyway, it's good that this is.
طبعا زلت
It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so you write the source and you write the annotated bibliography. If you are working on annotated bibliographies and you are going to submit one in the near future, please don't just write the URL. A lot of people find it too easy. They just go to the address bar and like copy, paste URL, that's all. No, you are not supposed to be doing that. Mention all the bibliographic information, the name of the author, the title of the work, the place and date of publication. These are important details that you need to mention. If you just put the URL, first you will give me a heart attack. Okay, I may die because of this, because I keep telling people about it and they don't listen. And the other thing is that you will lose points. Too many points. So please don't do it. So details, and then you provide an explanation. Now, another important thing that you are going to do is that you need, by the way, you need to decide this right now or when you start a project of writing. When you write your paper, you are going to choose what we call an argument approach or a form or a type of an argument. Please. What's your topic?
controversy
Can you give me more details? What are you arguing in this paper?
that the U.S. should improve the efforts towards conservation.
Should.
Will or yeah.
Should. Because you think that there is a serious problem and we cannot afford ignoring it and we need to handle it in the best possible way. Is there a chance for another opinion to be right?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly, but do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other option that you are not promoting could be also an option. A good one? No. No. When you are writing your papers, you are going to choose one of the two approaches. The first one is the Aristotelian or what we call Ptolemaic. Or Ptolemaic approach. This is an approach that you use in your writing where you destroy your opponent with logic. Not with guns, with logic. So, this is what we need to do. This is how the issue is to be discussed. This is how we solve this problem. This is how we consider that situation. This is how to deal with this issue. And that's it. Anything else? No, you're wrong. No, give me a chance. No. What about another opinion? No. There's just one opinion. It's mine, and I am right. That's one of the argument structures. We call it Aristotelian or Ptolemaic, after Aristotle or Ptolemy. There is another approach, which we call the Rogerian approach. The Rogerian approach says that I have an opinion. My opinion is right. I am right. Your opinion is good. Listen to my opinion. This is what you are going to get from my opinion. Okay? And you will benefit from my opinion. I respect your opinion. I understand your opinion. Your opinion is amazing, blah, blah, blah. But you still need to listen to me because my opinion is always going to be the right one. Think about what you benefit from what I say or do. It's always about me, but it does not destroy the other side. There is still a chance for the other side, for the other opinion, for the other argument to exist in this situation. In your paper, you are going to choose. Do you need to choose the Aristotelian approach, and your entire paper is just to support your argument? Or you use the Rogerian approach, where you allow the other side to talk and to express their opinion? So, do you plan to present the other argument and undermine it in a nice way? Or you just say, this is the only opinion, anyone else is stupid. This is a choice that you have to make from the very beginning. Your tone in the paper is going to be different. The way you handle issues in the paper is going to be different. Everything in the paper is going to be different, depending on the approach. Now, away from rhetoric, when we talk about Aristotelian or Rhetoric arguments, you need to understand something. If you are very strong and you can force your opponent to listen to your opinion, just use the Aristotelian. So I can force Mexico to close the borders and to protect the borders and do this and that. I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to be saying nice words. No. But when I'm dealing with China, I need to be careful a little bit. So I'm going to impose some tariffs, but that will be a little bit nice. So yeah, just 10%. Unlike Mexico or Canada, 25%. Here it's going to be 10% only. Because if I go too far with China, probably I will be destroyed. That's when you use Rogerian argument. People who are strong, people who are able to impose their will on the others, don't think about Rogerian arguments because they don't care about being nuts. Rogerian arguments are used by nice people. Is your position related to being nice? Or no, you think that you can force the other side to accept your argument? Again, that's a choice you have to make at the very beginning when you are writing about the paper. Now, when you are going to have the plan, remember that you need to start thinking about a working thesis. A working thesis is a thesis that you write at the very beginning when you start the research process. So, what is your thesis? You will say 1, 2, 3. I argue 1, 2, 3. Or what's your research question? And you tell me in my research question, I'm trying to find an answer to this. Now, we call it a working thesis before you write the paper. Why? Because you may change it. We call it a working thesis because you are still working on the project. Maybe you change your mind. At the very beginning, when you were starting to write the paper, you were like, exams suck. These types of assignments suck. They are not good for the students. They don't help. They don't do that. They don't do this. That's your position at the very beginning. Because you don't have enough knowledge about the topic. Then you read. And then you are like, oh, this is really a good thing. You read more and you discover that, yes, it's more important. And then you read more and you read more and you read more. And then you change your position entirely. Let me be clear. If you start with a project and you have a question in mind and you continue the reading process and you don't change your thesis, it means that you have learned nothing from your paper. If you just keep the same ideas in your mind and you think that you are right and you continue to be right, then you are coming from an ideology, not anything else.
This plan or working thesis, is it gonna be something that we're gonna be showing you what it is, or something that's where?
It's for you, but we will talk about it like in the coming 6 weeks. So you have the thesis, write it down, prepare it, read more, think about it, read more, think about it, and at the end, if you don't modify it, this is a moment of self-realization. You will tell yourself, probably I did not learn anything in the process. It means that you did not do enough reading. Because if you have the thesis and it doesn't change, and your knowledge is still the same, it means that you did not benefit anything from, or get anything from the reading session. And that's the problem. Another important thing is that you need to have like a tentative plan for how the paper looks like. Again, writing we say is recursive, which means that you start from point A to point B to point C to point D to point C again, and you delete certain words and ideas, and you move back to D, E, F, G. I committed a mistake. You go back, you erase things, you paraphrase things, you rewrite things. If you start with a paper and you move from point A to point Z, and there is nothing that you do in the during that process, and you don't go back every now and then you have learned nothing from writing. Because we do not learn only from reading, we learn also from writing. When I was beginning my writing career, I used to write very long introductions. Just the introduction of any paper I write will be like 7 pages. Just the introduction. Yeah, because it's a 30-page paper. And now, the longest introduction I will write will be like 4. Because I cannot do it like that. Because most of the problems, when you get the feedback, are going to be about that introduction. So why should I waste my time? Just go to the point immediately, provide previous explanation, and move forward with your paper. Now, where and how you are going to use your sources is going to be something you decide. Again, you are supposed to use your sources and refer to your sources and cite your sources and paraphrase your sources and directly go to from your sources whenever you are saying that something that's not what we call common knowledge. Okay? Anything, no matter how much you think this is just common sense and people know, if it is not really common sense, no, that's not the case. For instance, the sun rises from I don't know if I used that trick before. The sun rises from
East.
East. East. East. Right? Is there like any doubt about that? Even if I put my hand on a book and I say, no, that's wrong, will you believe me? For a lot of people, that's common knowledge, something that we can never debate, right? The sun rises from the east. Even when you think about it, the days or the new year start in Australia and New Zealand, and then the sun moves, okay, and night moves, and it's always coming from the east and ends in the west. Sunrise, sunset. Question. Is it the sun that's moving around Earth, or it's Earth that is moving around itself? The sun is not rising, right? The sun doesn't rise. It's Earth that's moving around itself, and that's how we see it, because we are thinking about it from our perspective. Even that kind of common knowledge could be questionable. So, whenever you are talking about an argument in relation to climate change, in relation to wars, in relation to politics, in relation to anything that happens in the world, cite a source. Any claim that you make in your paper needs to be supported by evidence. Now you will say, okay, wait, should I cite a source for every statement? Maybe yes. Maybe you need a source for every sentence. Unless it is your argument and you need to make that clear. Other than that, if you just make a claim that's not supported, I'll say, where did you get that from? And if there is no source, then your claim is just baseless and it's kind of empty rhetoric. Now, the client could be an outline, a mind map, a graphic, display, a bullet list. Again, that's something that you are going to do, so it will depend on how you want to do it.
I just have a question about sources. So I know that you said that you were a bit more, that you really like YouTube, but if a YouTube video is made by a professional in that field that you're researching,
Yes, that's a
especially-
source.
Okay, that works, okay.
That's a source. So for instance, for your paper about Ukraine, right? If you are writing a paper about the Ukrainian war and you cite one of the professors who talk about it or one of the politicians or political commentators who are talking about it, and that video was produced by CNN or Fox or by that professional in their own channel, that's fine. That's reliable enough, but not anyone who is on YouTube. We have a lot of people who have thousands of followers, if not even millions, but all they say is nonsense. So that person should be like professional, know what they are talking about, their ideas are based on facts and good research, not just because they like it or they don't like it. Okay? So that's the plan, and that's what you are going to do with it. Of course, we are going to have like a draft, and to be honest, I was disappointed last week. Most of the people missed class. Nobody brought me like a full, ready paper. Some people did not even know what the whole project was about. Again, it was just, not just one. I think nobody brought like a full draft. We did not have a peer reviewing session because of this. Okay, for the next project, for the paper, even if the due date is on Sunday, you still need to bring it with you. We need to do the peer reviewing session here. It's better because we will learn from each other, we will work with each other, and when we are done, we will be socializing a little bit because as humans, we are not talking to each other enough anymore, right? And it's fun. So, for the next project, remember that when you come here, when the peer review is due in 5 or 6 weeks, you need to have all the ideas, all the sources. Now, some people will not come here because, oh, I don't want to be judged by people. People will think that my writing is nasty, that my paper is not really organized, that there is no logical progression in the paper. I don't care. It's a draft. It's not a final version. It's a drafty draft that you are going to bring with you. And we are not professional writers, we are just learners. And that's why it's okay to commit mistakes and learn from each other's mistakes and correct things, yes?
The draft, can it be, even if it's just like a 1 page?
No.
Or it has to be like the whole
Needs to be
5 pages of
with
the draft
all the ideas. You still have 5 weeks, so start working on it right
for the
now.
first draft? Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be completely organized. It doesn't have to be with clear, correct grammar or spelling. It doesn't have to be like perfect, messy words, long sentences, but it needs to be ready.
Okay.
The most important ideas need to be stated in that paper. Again, it's a draft, but it needs to be a complete draft. Okay? Now, we are going to do the peer reviewing. Again, we are going to talk to each other about the sources and about the arguments. Is the argument credible? Now, let me say something first. One of the problems that are happening in our society today is that we are trying to be too nice to each other. Being too nice, unfortunately, today means that you are becoming dishonest. When your classmate has their draft and it sucks, you need to tell them that there are many problems in your draft. in the feedback that you provided for each other? Great work, nice work, very beautiful map, very beautiful diagram. I love it. I don't care if you love it. And it was horrible. You are not supposed to be that much nice. Yes, you are supposed to be nice, but you are supposed to be honest. We have a disaster here in our country because we are trying to be too nice to each other. That's not good. Do you know when we are not nice? When it's anonymous. When nobody knows who that person is, yes, we become very aggressive and we say bad things and we use naming and shaming and everything. But when we know each other, we're like, oh, your work is awesome, you are great, I love your work. Please stop doing that. If somebody's work is bad, then tell them that it is not very strong, that it has many problems, that that author needs to fix a lot of things, and mention what they need to fix. Just telling them that their work is amazing, do you know what you are doing? You are giving them a false sense of knowledge. These people will think that their work is great. And then I have to give honest feedback, and they will think that I hate them because of their icon. When you are not honest, you are creating a problem to the person you are not being honest to, and you are creating a problem to me. Because imagine that you show your paper to 2 or 3 people, and they all tell you that it's amazing. And then I tell you the truth, because that's my job. Like, hey, the first paragraph needs to be written, the second paragraph does not have a clear topic statement, the sources are not cited properly, the paragraph number 5 or 6 or 7 has nothing to do with the previous or the following paragraphs. This sentence does not mean anything, it does not make any sense, there is no meaning in it. Why are you doing that? This is the wrong way to cite your source. And there are 4 other people who are telling you that your paper is amazing. What will you think about me? That I'm just a horrible person who is just giving you a hard time, right? But if people tell you the truth, that hey, this paper needs to be fixed, it has many problems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will make you understand where you are in the writing, in your writing level, and it will help me because when I give feedback, people will not think that I'm antagonizing them because I don't like their whatever. Because sometimes people think so, that I don't like them because of any reason. I'm not joking, this is the truth. Someone sent me like, why are you biased against me? And I'm like, I don't even know who you are in class, I'm sorry. I don't remember everybody's name. And if I see you outside, probably I will not even know you.
Oh, you don't know Taylor Swift.
What's that? Yeah, I told you, if I see Taylor Swift outside, I will not know her. How many people know Taylor Swift, by the way? Probably everybody. You know her, how she looks. You have seen her picture somewhere. Yes? No? You don't know who she is? Who? Taylor Swift?
No.
Okay. So it's not just me. No, I'm not kidding. If I see Taylor Swift, I will not recognize her. I don't know who she is. I try to remember how she looks like because I've seen like a few pictures of her. But I don't really know. And a lot of situations, I see students after some time because they are not very good or not very bad. I remember the students who are very good and the students who are very bad. For instance, they keep giving me a hard time in class. I remember those. And I remember the ones that are really good. Other than that, I will not remember who you are. And some people think that, no, I am antagonizing them as individuals. Yes.
So I personally like receiving constructive criticism because it shows me the areas that I'm weak in and that I can improve in.
Good.
Whether it's academic, work, doesn't matter where.
Good.
Like I feel like it's just good.
Some people don't like that. And worse, some people don't know that I am giving them feedback because they don't know where to find it. And that's another problem. How many people have checked the feedback I gave them on the previous assignments? Or seen it? Honestly, right? Not even half of the class. That's a disaster. That's a disaster. Because if you don't get the feedback, you don't read it, how are you going to learn? And that's a problem. Anyway, back to the issue of feedback and the peer reviews. Is the argument credible? Tell them. It's based on facts, it's based on reasoning, it's based on this and that. Say, are the sources relevant to the issue or the topic? Because sometimes you use an issue that or sources that have nothing to do with the topic. So we are writing about the war between, I don't know, Canada and Denmark, for instance, if that happens ever. And then someone starts citing a book about cooking. I'm like, how are these two relevant? Okay, so you have to explain why you are using that source. Can you follow the logical thread of an argument? Look, when you are writing and when you are reading, in every paper, we have multiple paragraphs, multiple pages, okay? So this is paragraph 1, this is paragraph 2, this is paragraph 3, this is paragraph 4, and we continue that in our paper. Some people are not even looking at what I'm talking about. Guys, you are busy with your computers, and I'm sure if I just go right now behind you, you are doing something that's completely irrelevant to our class. Please pay attention. If you don't be here. Anyway, when you are writing your paper and when you are giving reviews to each other, okay, you establish a fact or an idea here. Then you don't keep stating the same fact or same idea. You move forward and you say another idea here. That's number 2, number 1, number 3, number 4. This is built on this. And this is built on this, which is built on this. I'm not going to repeat every argument and every claim. There are facts that need to be proven. And then there are facts that are built on other facts. That's how you do it. Is there development in the idea? That's what we call logical progression. You are moving from point 1 to point 2 to point 3. Let me give you an example. 1 plus 1 equals what? 2. 2. Then the following paragraph, 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's built on the first premise that 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's what makes me see that or know that this is 4. Something built on another. If that's not the case with every paragraph you write, then you are not really doing enough in your paragraphs, and you are not really doing enough in your papers. Okay. So quiet outside. Breathe. If it is too hot, people don't come. If it is too cold, people don't come. People always find some excuse. Anyway, so when we are working on our notebooks and when we are preparing ourselves for this new project, there are a number of steps, or there's a number of steps. There's a number of steps that you need to follow, and of course, the first one is we are going to see is going to be related to brainstorming. Again, you can do it here in class if we have time. Today, if we finish early, if we don't, we can work on it by yourself. You need to think for about 10 minutes. A lot of us today, and this is a serious problem, we don't want to get caught, which is really, really, really bad. We are too much busy doing homework for different classes, or having something to watch on Instagram, okay, getting busy with our work and jobs, going to some trainings, trying to hang out with some people, cook a meal, do something. Thinking is very good because it gives you the opportunity to see the issue from more than one perspective. Think about it. You are talking about a medication or a disease or a social problem or something that's related to mental health, and you start asking yourselves or yourself if you are working individually a number of questions. If you just try to get answers from some chat GPT or any kind of AI software or anything else, the creativity of coming up with new ideas is going to be lost. It will be gone. But if you think about the issue for just a few minutes, just 10 minutes, no more than that, you are going to see the issue from more than one perspective. You are going to think about different even solutions to the same problem. And believe it or not, sometimes if you get a claim by an author and you keep reading that claim clause, for instance, there is a claim about a disease or a problem or a social issue or anything. You have a sentence or a passage and you read it and you think about each sentence and each word and you read it carefully until you start to ask yourself questions about the claims and the basis upon which the claims are built. After a few minutes, you will realize that, wait a minute, this doesn't have enough support. This person is seeing the issue from the wrong perspective. And you check and you realize that this is a famous author who has been working in the field for so many years. And yet they are committing this kind of mistake because they are not thinking enough. And I'm not going to talk about exceptions because this is something that happens to every author that you can familiarize with. About every issue that you want to do research on. There will be always something wrong with every piece of writing, no matter what. Why? People these days, especially these days, cannot focus like before. Our attention span is not the same. Our ability to focus on things is not the same. And we just write and write and write. And sometimes when you take too many writing classes, you think about the form, a topic sentence, supportive sentences, conclusion, move to the second paragraph, cohesion, grammar, spelling, blah, blah, blah. And then you realize that you have forgotten anything about the ideas themselves. That the ideas themselves, when you are like inserting them, embedding them in your sentences, they don't work. Actually, if you are writing like a 10-page paper, you realize that on page 3 you wrote something and you contradict yourself on page 7. That's how it works. All of this is because we don't think a lot and we don't spend enough time on even recognizing what we write or what other people already have written. When you think for about 10 minutes or so, write your questions, save them if you have like them on a document, and then move forward. And remember, every question will be answered differently because it requires a specific type of tools. There are questions that require research in the lab. There is no other way that you can do it. So you have to have experiments, okay, and you have to do testing, and you have to do certain types of things. There are types of papers that just need an understanding of history. Some of them need an understanding about how computers work. Some of them need an understanding of the human body and how it functions. So each question is going to be answered differently, and it requires different types of tools and different types of tools. Now, one of the things that you may do if is to work with somebody on the topic of the paper that you are writing. And this is very interesting if you can share your ideas with another person. And you don't have to have a person who just thinks like you or agrees with everything you say. Actually, and this is something that I personally do, whenever I want to write a paper about a specific topic, I find the meanest person who can give me a response in relation to my position on the issue. So you believe that this is right, go find the person who says that this is wrong and try to have a discussion with them about your position. They will be very mean because they are mean, but what are you going to get from that? First, did I hear something? Did I hear something? Or somebody said hey?
Yeah, somebody's computer.
Maybe, yeah. Anyway, so when you talk to a person who doesn't agree with you, you will hear their objections and how they are able to undermine your argument. The evidence they use is going to be the evidence that you use to counter. Let's talk about your topics. Any topic? Any topic here that you have already? Yes. What's that?
Insomnia.
What is that?
It's this sleep deprivation condition.
Okay. What's your position?
It affects your mental health.
Raise your voice, please.
It affects your mental health.
Okay. So the question is about its impact.
Yeah, it's how insomnia affects you and causes your mental health to deteriorate.
Okay. Okay. And what's the position that you are taking? You said this is, or is there like any opposition to that? Then that's not a good topic. Do not write about something on which everybody agrees. What's the point? Is there anybody who says, no, that's not true, this is all nonsense?
There's people that say that there's different, causes that insomnia does.
Okay, but you are not focusing on the causes. You are talking about the effect. Is there any disagreement about the effect? If there is no disagreement, then choose another topic. Maybe it's better to talk about the causes if people disagree about the causes. Okay? So that's how you approach it. It needs to be controversial. If everybody agrees, then what's the point of having the discussion and writing a 7-page paper? Yes?
Mine is digging in deeper into the pagan holidays that others had stolen and completely erased from the pagans.
Okay, that's a
And
topic.
there's a lot of conflicting opinions.
About
What holidays or if they actually came from them or if they didn't. So some sides are like, no, this is all our own, and others are like, no, but it's stolen.
okay.
So there's a lot of back and forth.
Okay, so the topic is controversial in itself. What position are you taking?
I'm taking that the holidays were stolen.
The holidays
Were stolen.
were stolen. Okay. Who would steal a holiday?
Apparently a lot of people would.
Why would they do that?
Because they want to make it their own, but, especially in the time of their crusades and stuff. There's the whole thing of the snakes coming out of Ireland. The thing is, those weren't actually snakes. Those were pagans.
Okay. And why would they disagree? What is missing in the literature?
The thing is, a lot of the literature we have was written by people who stole holidays.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of the history
It's always
that we
written
have,
by the winners. the
Yeah.
victors.
so a lot of the history of the other people is like completely erased.
Okay. Is there any shred of evidence to support your
Yes, with the little bit of research I've done so far, there's a lot of, like May Day is connected to Beltane. We
Okay.
still do very similar things.
Okay,
So-
let me take the position of the other side because I want to get you nervous, not because I want to make you nervous.
Yeah.
I want you to see. We are just taking the perspective of those who are defeated. You hate those in power. And you don't have any kind of solid argument. Again, I'm playing the devil's advocate. It's just a number of claims written by losers. How would you respond to that?
So most of our evidence of what we have was written by the victors who wanted to completely erase the history.
Yeah, and the victors are strong, which means that they are good.
Not always though.
No,
We've
it's
seen,
always like that.
we've seen from like colonization and stuff, even in history.
Again, left-wing agenda.
But
You see,
Mhm.
that's how you need to think about it. Who is the meanest person? Of course, I can get way meaner.
Yeah.
This is just nothing. I can get way meaner and I can undermine the topic itself and why do we have to talk about it and why the counter history or what we call counter narratives or what is called in organizational communication microstoria is important. Because again, there is like this the big debate about it. By the way, this could be like also related to the idea of Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
What does it mean? Is it even based on facts? Or this is something that we made up because we wanted to say that, oh, the natives were so nice and they gave us the land. That's the same controversy. But again, how can we prove that the counter narrative or the meta narrative or the microstoria is built on facts? Because again, these people lost the war and now they are just trying to resist. But their resistance does not mean that they are right. And this is one of the problems that we have in this kind of research about history or counter history. Because people think that you are just using what we call the narratives or the literature of the oppressed, but you don't have actual evidence that supports your claim. So you need to find literature that's written by those who won, who say that we stole these holidays
Mhm.
from the natives or the locals.
Yeah.
Can you find that?
Yeah, there's a few articles that, and like historical textbooks that I can find.
Written by the victims.
Yes.
That will be like a good source. Because every other argument will be undermined by the fact that these were losers and they are just trying to make
Yeah.
problems or complain and say that they are victims.
There's
Oh.
like a lot of historical journals you can find from like the victor side
Okay.
of things, and those are
Yes.
perfect primers.
Yes, that's the type of sources that you need to use. Anything else? So the focus will be on proving, okay, from the literature of those who won, who also stole. Okay. Anything else? Any other topic? No? Okay, we are scared, we don't want to. That's fine, that's fine. You will have time, you can reflect on it, you will be discussing things with people. Again, you can discuss the topics for 10 minutes. And again, I was not very mean, trying to be not too mean, because we can always raise questions. Again, write down the questions that are raised by the other side, because that will help you to think about the trajectory of your research. Now, you go to the internet and again, go to Google Scholar. This is like your best source. If you don't find enough material, then you go to, you will always find enough material on Google Scholar. And it will be always accessible in one way or another. You can go to certain types of websites where you get the material, type the keywords and find the results, read the results. That's the most important thing. There's no point in reading like 100 articles if you don't read them. Of course, I'm not saying to read 100 articles. I'm just saying that you will find enough material. Again, we are just learning how to write the paper. It's not about content. And if they are inaccessible, you can just go to the SL6 library website, log in, do the search, and get what you are looking for. AI is going to be helpful, again, with the number of questions, but you don't need to depend on it too much. AI is not always reliable. It can tell you something that's wrong. Questions are not always specific enough. Even if I've seen people trying to have like AI that's designed just for college and university, like work and activities and research, but again, it's not really that good. The thing with AI is that it can be good for a literature review, but it cannot synthesize arguments at all. It can give you like an overview of things. It shows you the literature, what people have talked about. But a research paper is more than just a literature review. It's about combining different ideas to come to a new conclusion. That's something that AI cannot do so far. Human brain is way more complex than this. Anyway, so you go to ChatGPT, provide the prompts, copy and paste, in order to submit. Do it. Now, back to the idea of brainstorming. When you are doing that, you are supposed to think about the resources that you have. How much time do you have? How many books and articles do you have? How many people are going to help you in your research? Ask yourself these questions because this is important for you. Always remember that there will be like counter arguments that have better ideas. Maybe you are getting it wrong. Maybe you are raising the wrong question. Could be. That's also a possibility. So ask yourself, can I really see things from more than one perspective? Can that perspective be helpful? But don't try in your papers to prove that you are right. I know that we love that. We always try to do it. But the whole thing about a paper is to know how to raise a question and try to answer that question. It's not about proving that you are right. If you start like this at this level and you continue all of your life like this, you will have a lot of serious problems. Now you are writing about general things, and I don't know about every topic you are going to write about, especially if it is specific. But if you do research for your department, for your field, for your discipline, okay, and there will be people who will hold you accountable for everything. People will know your mistakes, not in relation to the writing itself, but in relation to the content. So if you just start here and you are stubborn and you don't want to change your position on things, and you continue with that, you are going to struggle a lot. You could manipulate people, but it's not going to work for everybody. So just listen to the other side. Maybe they have something good, okay? And when you read different articles and you see different opinions, you will learn more. The product will be better. Just think about this movie when you have different types of foods, and then you mix them all, and you get a better result. But if you have just banana or just apple, or anything, dragon fruit, or whatever. Tomatoes?
Yeah, like the bottom ones, those look like tomatoes.
This.
Yeah,
That's weird.
they look like tomatoes.
Yeah. Those sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's
the
weird.
cherry tomatoes.
Yeah, well.
Sorry, that just caught me off guard.
No.
I was just looking at it, it just seemed weird.
Yeah, it could be like something else, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe. We don't have to make it appear. Could be something else. I think it's tomato. It's a fruit, right?
People, I say it's a hybrid. Because we don't really put tomatoes in fruity things.
Yes, that's true. Because it's not really sweet.
Yeah, it's more bitter.
Yeah, just imagine that you have guests at home and you give them like some big plate or bowl of fruit and there's tomato in the middle. What is this? Especially if it is fall, people will be surprised. The point of creating different types of fruit, just giving different types of fruits in addition to the tomatoes, which are kind of hybrid, is that you synthesize different types of arguments, do more thinking, and then you will come to the results. But if that is not done, you will not really get much. So that's what you are supposed to be doing. Then
Brainstorming can be fun. You get together and generate a massive list of ideas. Everyone is shouting all over each other. It's exciting. However, this often leads to groupthink, where everyone remains fixated on one particular approach. Often, quieter members never get a chance to share ideas, and the group jumps to a potential solution way too quickly. Here's a different approach that I've tried in my classroom. It's not perfect and it takes a little bit longer, but it's something that worked for me, so I thought I'd share it. First, students brainstorm alone. Some choose a list while others choose a web. Next, they meet together as a group. We have one rule in this phase: no judgment. This means no criticism and no commentary. The goal is to reduce fear. This part isn't timed. Sometimes we even brainstorm on multiple days and students borrow ideas from seemingly unrelated fields. Next, we have a member of another group join the brainstorm and add any fresh ideas that they hadn't considered. The original group then meets together yet again, and they add ideas to the existing brainstorm while also combining similar ideas. Finally, they will analyze, evaluate, and narrow down their ideas until they have a single coherent concept. This process reduces groupthink while ensuring that everyone's voice is heard.
now, it's also good to have like some debates about certain types of topics. And by the way, when you are writing your paper, I strongly recommend that you include the other opinion. Yes, respond to them, destroy them with logic, as we said last time. Especially if you are using the Aristotelian or Ptolemaic approach, not the Rogerian. It's fine. Have a debate with the other authors, discuss their ideas, present the counter argument, and then present your evidence and say that I think that this is the correct answer. That's fine. So you need to acknowledge the other side. Your paper needs to be interesting by having a discussion with other people. In reality, you can do that before you write the paper, have someone to talk to, and in the paper itself, include the opinion of the other. Always think about your paper as a kind of conflict resolution. Is this holiday stolen? This is something people are debating about. Let's come to a conclusion about it. Let's decide if this holiday was stolen or not. Let's decide if fascism has this or that thing. That fascism is completely evil, coming from the devil. There is nothing good about it. Totally nothing. We must find something different. We must find an opinion of a scholar or two who say something different from what we are talking about. Same thing when you are talking about education, the same thing when you are talking about anything else, any topic. Always need to think about it in relation to debates, a big topic that people disagree about. Problems are not quickly or easily solved. We understand. Even if you write a paper about a holiday, that doesn't mean that the problem is solved. That's definitely not the case. Okay? So just let people say whatever they want and disagree. What is the problem? No, really, what is the problem? Am I going to kill you? Am I going to eat you? What's gonna happen? Sorry for saying that. You disagree with me? Go to hell. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, it's okay. You disagree with me. Actually, that's more fun. Sometimes, don't tell anybody about that. Sometimes I look for people who disagree with me about this. If I'm in a good mood, I want to give them a hard time because I don't like them. I sit with them like, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while, blah, blah, blah. And then we start eating coffee or any kind of drink or something. And then I raise a question and then get comments. I love doing that. If I'm feeling okay, if I'm cool and everything is fine, I'm not under like a lot of pressure, I just enjoy it. And my wife tells me that every time I become evil or I talk about the topic, my voice goes down. I close my eyes now, they are already small and they get smaller. And I start talking in a specific tone that makes everyone around me nervous. They feel that they want to just jump and kick me on my face. Okay? Just a big punch in order to hurt me. She says that I'm very good at provoking people. Good, that's fine. I am the best in this, that's great. Yes, sometimes I lose my cool, sometimes I get angry, sometimes I yell. But you need to understand that people who differ with you are going to give you an opportunity. At least have fun when you are talking to them. Yeah, you really think that you can do this? You really think that your position is based on even anything? Don't you think that your position on that case is just stupid? It's just stupid. Actually, you are stupid. Okay, you can say it without saying it, by the way. Look, no matter how strong your opponents are, if you just discuss the bases of their argument, not the argument itself, the bases upon which they build their argument, they will lose their cool. And the more quiet you are, the quieter you are, you have a better opportunity of winning that debate. Just make them angry. Be cool, be quiet, control yourself, and know how to provoke them. I love that. People have different ideas. Some of them are really stupid and baseless. The better you do when you practice self-control and have a discussion that's based on facts, because probably the other side does not have them. If you don't have them and you lose, then at least you have learned something, right? Don't do what I told you to do. Anyway, now this way of what we call the Manichean thinking, I don't know how to pronounce that word actually. Anyway, so sometimes we assume that our opponents, the people that we are arguing with, are wrong, and they know it, but they just insist on their position because they are dumb, or stubborn, or they are ignorant, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And we always assume that our opponent is morally. Now at least during the Biden administration, we were supporting Ukraine in its war against Russia. Now the president says, oh, they are going to give us 500 billion, or we have access to your natural resources. Because you have to pay us back, right? They have to pay us back in one way or another. Okay? So we always, when we are talking about Russia, at least during the Biden administration again, Russia is morally inferior. It's a dictatorship. Right? Do they have an election? No, they have, but it's fake. It's always put in points. They have like a parliament or a Congress like us. Yes, they do. But again, it's just not really that much. By the way, every dictatorship that we can think about has some sort of other rules, even if it is just in shape. So there is like that much. Like they have a constitution, they have like a Congress of their own. Okay, they have like different branches or separate branches of the government. They have their own way of doing their own business. It's not my business. But again, as a country, we always talk about them, they are stupid and they are wrong and they know it. And they are definitely morally inferior. But there is a question. it possible that we are the ones that are wrong? Isn't it possible that democracy is bad? Not that it's the less of the two evils. No, it is bad. What is democracy? What is democracy? What is democracy? Yes. The people. So, demo, them, taken from the public, the laity, everybody. Average, someone said that in front. Average Joe, right? That's the expression. Okay. This is them, democracy, and cracy is a system. So there's a system that's based on. Do you think that people are really qualified to decide a policy of a huge country like the United States, or even a small country like Bahrain? Do you think that, how much do you know about politics? Honestly. How many people watch the news regularly? Why do you think you are qualified to vote for a president who makes dangerous decisions? No, really. Why do we think that we are qualified? Says who that democracy in itself? That's one question. The other thing, we are the biggest democracy, we say, right? The strongest democracy. How many military bases do we have around the world? Any idea? 750. We have thousands and thousands of people deployed internationally. And we waste our tax money instead of spending it on education and health. We have military bases around the world. Look at the last two presidents. Is that really good? Like, Bush was a president, Obama was a president, but do you think that the last two presidents are presidents? If this is what democracy brings, then we have a serious problem. Now, why am I saying this? Because we may talk about fascism in a negative way. How many people were dead or were killed because of the fascist ideology? Thousands? Millions? And how many people were killed because of our democratic values that we try to enforce on the world? Probably even more. And yet we call democracy. Fascism has killed people, and democracy has killed more people. Right? So are we really morally inferior? The same thing you need to think about in yours. I know that you may get nervous, you think that this is wrong, I'm not supposed to be saying this. But again, as I told you on the first day, all our ideas about anything for me are the same. Whether it is democracy or fascism or whatever it is called, I don't. It's just an idea. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to fight for this or that. But when you think about it, when it's related to your topic, always come with a good perspective, yes, but also think about the issue from another perspective. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe these people were just liars that you were talking about, and there was no even holiday. Even if they say it's just a claim, empty claim. Were you there? We were not born. How much do we know about Hitler? Not much. How much do we know about Mussolini? Not much. We don't know. Like things are in the books, written by the people who won. Have you ever heard the other voice? Not really that much. We don't know. Even when we are doing research about medications, or health issues, or computer science, or anything else in the world, always think about it from another perspective, because that perspective could be something. when you are writing, also one of the things that you need always to remember is to avoid attacking other people just because you disagree with them. Don't call them just stupid or ignorant or that they are bad or evil or blah, blah, blah. As I told you at the very beginning, and I say that all the time, when you write, you are supposed to be a creature without passion, without emotion. Academic research is done by people who have cold blood. Never write while you are angry. Never write when you are angry at an idea. I will write about democracy and fascism and Nazism and Islamism and terrorism and communism and socialism and capitalism, and I don't care about any of them. If I am interested in one thing, or I'm attacking an idea, or I'm countering an idea because I love this and I hate that, then probably I can be a good journalist, but not a good researcher. Because it's none of your business to be emotionally engaged with your topic. Yes, you write about a topic that's interesting to you, but if you take a specific position just because you love or hate, then we have a problem. Ad hominem is a fallacy, and we will talk about fallacies like in the near future, that people use when they are attacking someone because they are someone, not attacking the policy itself. Now, a lot of people are critical of Trump's policies at the borders. Okay? Like illegal immigration, as it is called today. A lot of people are or were crossing the borders. But now, according to Fox News, it has declined by 90%. Biden also did some policies. Yes, they were not very powerful like the ones that we have today. But did you ever criticize Biden, for instance, when he was implementing these policies? So probably your problem was not with Biden, not with the policy. Probably the problem is with either Biden or Trump. Because if two people are doing the same thing and you accept it from one and you don't accept it from another, then there is a problem with the person or a problem with the ideology that that person stands for. Okay? Ad hominem, again, is an attack on an individual instead of an attack on an idea. Let's take a look at this.
Welcome to Argument Clinic, a guide to spotting bad arguments on the internet. In this episode, we're going to be talking about ad hominem, a classic logical fallacy. What's that? You don't think ad hominem attacks are that bad? Well, you would think that because you're a moron. I'm kidding, of course. You're not a moron. I'm just demonstrating an ad hominem attack, which means trying to refute an argument by attacking the character of the person making it, rather than the logic or premise of the argument itself. Boy, okay, now, where can we find examples of an ad hominem attack?
It's Rubio!
Sure, there must be one around here somewhere.
He said he's got pathological disease. He actually said pathological temper, and then he defined it as disease.
Come on. One of you must have seen somebody respond to a critique by reflexively attacking the character of the person raising it, rather than the substance of the argument?
He has a news conference all the time when he's eating. I have never seen a human being eat in such a disgusting fashion.
Okay, to be fair, it is not just President Trump who resorts to ad hominem attacks. Anytime someone dismisses a protester by saying they're paid by George Soros, or argues that anyone who supports Trump's immigration policy is racist, they're using an ad hominem attack. Take a look at any comment section and you'll find tons of ad hominem attacks. Ad hominem attacks are not always wrong. Sometimes the character of the person making an argument is in fact directly related to that argument. If, for instance, they're making an argument based on their own authority and they don't have any. If my buddy Daniel tells me that he learned in med school that it's totally healthy to eat 7 pounds of beef stroganoff a day, it would be perfectly valid for me to point out that he never actually went to medical school and is in fact an electrician. But for the most part, people make ad hominem attacks to avoid the argument altogether. Let's take a look at a few different flavors, shall we? So you've got ad hominem tu quoque. This is when you accuse someone of not practicing what they preach. For instance, when a carnivore tells you that eating meat is bad for the planet, the fact that this purely hypothetical meat eater can't resist a savory bowl of beef stroganoff does not invalidate the argument. And And then there's ad hominem circumstantial, in which you try to invalidate the argument by claiming it is within the arguer's self-interest. For instance, if I present data that proves that tax cuts are good for the economy, it would be a fallacy to dismiss it just because I'd benefit from that tax cut. And then there's poisoning the well, in which someone is primed to distrust someone else's argument in advance. For instance, the way Donald Trump called a bunch of press outlets enemies of the American people the day before news broke about some members of his administration's communications with Russia. You get the idea. Ad hominem attacks are easy, and they can be kind of fun, but they are not sound. They are dodges, a way to avoid grappling with the substance of an argument itself. If you don't agree, feel free to hop on the next train to Losertown, because that's obviously where you belong.
Academic research is that when you do it, you need to be patient. Research cannot be written overnight. A good paper cannot be written overnight. That's a joke. Even if you write a paper and you think it is good, even if you have done it before and you can do it in the future, yes, you have passed, but you have not learned. Knowledge. I'm sorry to use that example, but writing a paper is like pregnancy. You start with an idea, you think, you get information, until that information is too much for you. It has to go. And that's how I feel every time I write a paper. I have an idea, I conceive a concept or an idea or something that I want to write about. I read and read until I feel that I cannot read anymore. I have to write something. So I pour all the ideas that I have on paper, and then I arrange them in the best possible way, and then move forward. That's how you think about writing. That an idea that you conceive, you make it grow, you learn about it, and then you write it down on a sheet of paper. That doesn't happen when you do the assignment because it's due like midnight and you want to get rid of it. You pass because everybody today is passing, but you haven't learned anything. You are just a pretender. You pretend that you know, but in reality, you are lying to yourself, to the instructor, and to the institution that's also like hosting you or helping you pass or learn. Because again, you are not really learning. There are a lot of questions that need time. You can do a lot of things. For instance, if you want to cook something quickly, you can use the microwave to defrost some types of food. Sometimes the microwave can help you cook certain types of meals. They are ready, but you have to put them in the microwave for a few minutes, and they will be ready for you to eat, right? But are they going to be as delicious as the meals that you have, for instance, that they are slowly cooked and they are taken care of in the best possible way? No, the same thing with academic papers. You need to be patient. You need to do things slowly. Because if you just try to do it all in one night, you will have words, but you will never have knowledge. Now, another important thing that you need to do when you are writing your paper or preparing yourself to write your paper is to listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to the other argument, to the other opinion, to the different opinion that you don't agree with, because you are supposed to remember things and you are supposed to have a counter argument in your paper. Always include the other side in your paper. If you don't include it, that's a problem. That means that you are intolerant of other people, intolerant of other ideas, and intolerant of everything that could be making you or could make you feel uncomfortable. Why? Because you live in a bubble, because you live in an echo chamber and you don't want any opinion that's different from yours. Okay? Now, last question. Do you know who this is? Have you seen him before? What? I appreciate it, but that's definitely not me. Well, I wish I can have like a surgery that, at least the hair. I just want the hair. I don't want anything else. No, unfortunately, that's not me. I will never be like that. I don't think so. Although people in Turkey are doing good hair transplant, and it's not expensive at all. Like it's $900 or $1,000, and but again, it's not me. Oh, you know it. Then yes, that's the dude.